Hey, good morning and welcome to the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. Well, yeah, it's morning for me, Rod. It's almost afternoon.
Yeah, it's just about lunchtime for me. I don't know. You start early too. I get
I,
up at 5 these days. So
I do, but spring break with the kids here in Montana, we're on spring break right now. And with the kids, they're sleeping in until 8, 9, 10, and it just throws everything off because you're used to getting up and grinding early with them. Like you just said, 5 a.m., get your workout in so you can get them up by 6:30 and get them ready for school. It's all about the pivot in the schedule.
it's the pivot. Yes, it is. We talked about that last week, or early this week. The pivot.
There's so many things that can happen in your life that will change the dynamics of your business and how you conduct your business for the day, especially if you're an entrepreneur working from home or even somebody that works for somebody else working from home. Having that schedule and maintaining like my priorities for the day is so critical. Like I just mentioned, spring break is kind of throwing me off.
We need to be thrown off though, Jim. There's nothing wrong with being thrown off your game a little bit. That's how you get better. That's how you learn to adapt and overcome.
Yeah. Well, you also realize how important those schedules are and having your goals. Okay. So we talk a lot about how we have our library of books that we recommend on the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate website. And by the way, you can go there, youngentrepreneurs.com, and we have it's basically the library of books. And this is a culmination of books that both I've read, Rod, as well as Rachel, our third partner. We've read these books, we find value in them, and they're literally across the board. Have you looked at all the titles recently?
Not recently, but I know we've got a lot. Did we add more recently? Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
I still send some over to Rachel to put up on the website. I'm like, wow, I never even seen that book before. And a lot of this is what I love about it. We're three different generations.
Yes.
You know,
I love
you're
that about it.
you're ahead of me and Rachel's behind both of us. And we all have different learning experiences from our history. We come from different demographics too. So that's kind of what's neat about the variety of books that we have there. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about some of these books. I'm currently reading Suited for Success by the Red Suit Realtor. I'm going to be with him this weekend. And I felt like, well, he was on my podcast. He read my book and I felt obligated. Well, I better buy his book and read it. So I'm halfway through it. And I'm going to bring out a couple quotes. And Rod, I won't say that this is a test for you, but
Oh no, I hate
but
tests.
but tell me if you recognize these quotes. And I want to
All right.
talk about this. All right.
Okay.
So here they are. First one, there's no traffic jam on the extra mile. Quote
Ooh.
two. These are all by the same person, by the way.
Okay.
If you go looking for a friend, you're going to find that they're very scarce. If you go out to be a friend, you'll find them everywhere. By the way, if the author comes to mind, okay, shout it out and I'll stop reading them. I only have 10, so you've got to get the
No,
author
keep
before
going anyway.
I'm gonna
So,
you this one is everybody knows this one, but do you know the author? Same guy. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start
to be great.
to be great. The tougher you are on yourself, the easier life will be on you. You must be before you can do, and you must do before you can have. All right, here's another famous one. Same guy. It is your attitude, not your aptitude, that determines your altitude. Failure is an event, not a person. Okay, and one more. You can have everything in life you want if you will help enough other people get what they want.
All right. So, the first thing I want to say is Napoleon Hill, but it sounds more like a coach. So, Wooden.
Nope.
No, Dale
No.
Carnegie.
No.
Oh, am I even close?
After both those guys, to be honest with you, this person has 4 secrets to closing more sales, and I promise you, his book is on the back of you right now. So,
Probably is fine, both of us.
Let me not torture everybody through the process, but they're great quotes, and this is what I want to talk about today. The quotes are from Zig Ziglar.
Zig Ziglar up there.
Yeah.
Big name. I should have had it.
That's okay. We both grew up with him.
Yep.
His stories about selling
Yep.
cookware, right? And his tactics for selling and how he almost gave up. Here's my point of this. And again, all those quotes, these were written in the 70s and 80s from a guy that sold, I don't know if it was Tupperware or what type of kitchen supplies he was selling.
Polar brush or something.
$61 for a set of pans. He actually sold a roasting pan, a 4-pound roasting pan. Okay. Literally,
Yeah.
right? His success came from selling pots and pans. Here's what's fascinating. All these still apply today.
Absolutely.
There's no secret sauce in what needs to be done to find success in your life, in your business, in making a sale, improving sales, improving relationships. They all apply today. And what's cool about the authors you mentioned, right? Napoleon Hill. I mean, we're talking about the 40s and 50s. Same stuff.
Yep.
You could have easily exchanged his words for Zig Ziglar's, and you can exchange their words for just about anybody that's speaking today in public and what they're talking about doing. What resonated with me in Suited for Success with the Red Suit Realtor was he was talking about reading Zig Ziglar. Now he's 10 years, 15 years younger than me.
Right.
Okay. So he's in his 40s, early 40s.
Early 40s. Yeah.
But, he talks about making the 100 phone calls a day, reaching out, 100 calls a day, building relationships, 100 phone calls a day, being there for people. That doesn't change. Right. And what I want to remind people of is that to be successful, it still requires the work. You're not going to read a book and get to the finish of the book, and all of a sudden your bank account's going to be fuller. Right. You have to generate the action based on what you've learned from that book. The dynamics and the doctrination of the skills are the same.
They're timeless.
They're timeless.
They're timeless.
You still have to go out and perform the task, that they're talking about. And that's where people miss it. They believe that if I read a book or if I join a group, that when I'm done, my bank account is magically going to get bigger. And, here's the wild thing. So my wife, she works for Flag Nor Fail, massively successful. And somebody had texted her because she does all their social media. She says, "Hey, I'm a fellow entrepreneur. What's the secret to your success?" And so Sam's telling me this. I said, "Oh, I can't wait to hear how you responded to that." And she says, "I just told them that Dana and Rob Bailey worked tirelessly 12 hours a day the last 13 years to build their business, and they're not slowing down." 13 years, 12 to 13 hours a day to have massive success.
That reminds me of another famous quote.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. Everybody wants the shortcut, right? The secret, the key. The longest distance between 2 points. Do you know what it is?
Getting
the
started.
Longest distance.
Getting started.
Nope. A shortcut.
A shortcut.
Yeah. A shortcut is the longest distance between 2 points. You want to take a shortcut and it gets you off in the weeds. It gets you lost. It gets you distracted. It gets you detracted. And it takes you longer to get back on course so you can start where you should have started to begin with.
Yeah.
So don't look for shortcuts. Don't look for them because they're not there. There's nothing new under the sun, right? And what we're told is that where we get our satisfaction and where we get our reward is through, it's a 4-letter word, toil, right? Mm-hmm. Some people call it work, but we get to toil. And when you embrace that and you get to enjoy it and find satisfaction in work well done. I've got blisters on my hands today, by the way.
Oh, good job.
Blisters all over, right? And I could hire somebody to come in and do my yard. I could. It would be easy. But I enjoy doing it. I like the work. I like knowing I did it when I look out my window and see that my yard looks better than all the neighbors on the street and that I physically did it. There's satisfaction in that. And you need to get to that point. I don't care if it's your laundry. My wife told me that decades ago. She had to make friends with her laundry instead of saying, oh, another load, another
Mm-hmm.
load.
Mm-hmm.
No, just make friends with it. You don't have to go down to the river to scrub it, right? We've got all these tools. Embrace it and just do the work.
Speaking of scrubbing laundry, I posted a picture about 4 months ago from Mexico. They still scrub laundry in a public sink down there in the city of Tequila. Not everybody, but it's still available. Running
Right.
water. There was 50 outdoor sinks made out of clay. Water comes from the river, flows through there and back into the river. Can't be very clean, by the way.
Right.
But like you said, you got to make friends with that hard work. Yesterday, I drugged the lot. That's where you put the
Yes.
harrow behind the tractor
Yep.
and you drag it, and because the snow's melted, right? And the dirt's
Rough it
all
up.
the dirt is all beautiful and clean right now. My wife's like, you're as happy as a kid in a candy store. I'm like, I love when the yard is clean like that. So, to your point, there's no shortcuts. And I agree with that 100%. There is on occasion a little bit of luck that might stimulate what you're doing and move you forward a bit faster. You might see some ebbs and flow of speed in your business. But equally important as that happening, you have to be prepared to capture that.
Yes.
You're not just going to capture it by reading another book or listening to another podcast, including this one, or being a member of another group, like even the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. You have to have the foundation laid to capture that luck if it comes your way. Right. And I think people also miss that because luck could come your way. But if you're not ready for it, if you don't have the tools ready to go, it'll pass you right by.
Well, the other thing too, Jim, is you can increase your chances, right? You talk about luck. It's just statistics, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just statistics. You can increase your chances by reading more. You can increase your chances by hanging around the right people in groups and on podcasts, right? By ditching your friends who go out drinking all the time and spending some time with some professionals who are successful and do have it, where they're going to community functions and benefits and other things that are helping people instead of just looking at gratifying their, I worked hard all week, so I deserve it,
Yeah.
And in fact, here's one of the posts that I put on my Instagram this week. And I woke up in the morning and I don't even want to say what it was that triggered it, but my post was real simple. And it is this: it's not all about you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not all about you. When you get yourself out of the equation and you start looking outward, like the Zig Ziglar quote, right? When you start looking to make yourself a friend to other people, when you start looking for ways to inject your knowledge to help other people, that's when you're going to find people who are going to want to help you.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to align with you and what you're doing. And yeah, is that going to increase your odds? Absolutely. And sometimes it's just like the books and podcasts and what we do. We all need reminders because I think inherently we know we just have to work, right? But we need that reminder. And we also sometimes need somebody different or somebody to say the same thing a different way for it to actually resonate with us.
Yeah.
And so that's what I look for. There's nothing new, but how can I say it differently what story can I add to it so that it will be real to somebody else and they can take it to heart and make it work and help them launch themselves to that next level.
It's interesting when you really evaluate where your success comes from or where it doesn't. I could blame myself every single time for not having the success that I see in my mind by evaluating my output. Like literally, evaluate your output, what you're giving versus what you want. If what you want is way up here and what you're given is way down here, you can only blame yourself for the gap in between. And I believe so often that people's expectations are they deserve what's way up top and they're not willing to give anything to get there. And I'm just being transparent, like I know the difference between what I really think I want and how much output I have. And I go through ebbs and flows of I'm on all day, every day, every last minute, I'm efficient.
Right.
And then I also know other days, well, I just blew 2 hours, whatever, doing what, whatever that looks like, you know. And so I can look back at that. And I guess I'm just encouraging people not to be dissatisfied with where they're at, but really evaluate, what they're putting into it and what their realistic expectations should be, and know what that barometer looks like, and know that if they increase their output based on what they've evaluated about themselves, they can see a noticeable change. And putting tools in place to do that, or to be able to do that, will help them succeed. Or change your expectations to your own reality of what you're giving out, and be satisfied with that and be happy with that. It's okay to be happy with the level of output that you're giving, but
Right.
don't create a level of dissatisfaction where you go into a form of depression that you're not good enough, you're not succeeding, you don't have what other people have, but have a true understanding of who you are and what you're giving.
Here's a quote I just came up with while you said that. Have set high goals with realistic expectations,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay to have high goals, big goals, but let's have realistic expectations of how you're going to get there. And that's really what it is. How are you going to get there? Put in the work. You want to get there faster? Put in more work.
Yeah.
Or get somebody to help you duplicate your efforts, right? That's another way to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that either. Get partners who are like-minded so you can double your efforts.
So, Rod, just in a form of closing the subject out, how do we, give more work? How do we, what tools are out there for that? And I'll rattle off a few, and you could rattle off a few, because I think if you're listening to this, you're going, okay, I get it. I can work more, I can bring more value with the right tools. Well, what do those tools look like? We talk about them. And for me, one of my tools is my yellow pad. It's sitting it's right here. I live by this thing. I list out what's important to me that needs to get done on a daily basis. Okay, so if I realize when I get up in the morning what needs to be done, I attack that first, right? So I become efficient. And then as I get further down that list and the day goes on, I realize the level of importance that may or may not need to happen. That's one of them. I think other tools that exist are available to people. We talked about at the beginning of the show. There's so many great books out there to read and get in touch with, and learn even one thing from one book. It doesn't matter who wrote it. You're going to find something in extracting that information. So reading podcasts are great. There's tons of them on all different subjects to make you better. Spending some quality time listening to a podcast instead of digging into 2 hours of The Bachelorette or whatever those shows are that people watch, right? There's also membership groups like the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. You can join a group like ours, or there's many others out there where all of a sudden you drop into a community of like-minded people, and you can share those ideas and collaborate with people and build up your tool chest to be more successful. So there's 3 or 4 that I could think of immediately that are almost zero cost to entry
Well,
to have more resources.
I appreciate that, Jim. And I'm with you because I do much the same thing. If you saw my notebooks, I have notebooks all over the place because I never know when I'm going to get an idea. And I still haven't figured out that this thing can take voice notes, right?
Yeah.
But the first thing I'm going to say is people need to understand, and some people may be struggling with this, you need to find that extra time. If you're thinking, man, I come home and I'm just spent, I'm beat from the grind that I do every day. Well, embrace the grind, number one. But when you come home, find ways to leverage the time you do have. You mentioned The Bachelorette or whatever you're watching on TV. So do this. Here's one thing to do. Cut out one TV show. Just cut out one. You're probably watching more than one. Cut out the news. I'm telling you, you can live without the news too. Okay.
So
sure. For years, Jim, for decades, actually, I watched the news. I read the paper every day. And I'm not unaware, believe me. I'm aware of what's going on out there, but I get my news a different way now. I'm not sitting there having somebody else feed it to me. But there's the one tool is give something up to gain something. Replace it with something better, right? Reading a book, joining a podcast, joining a group. A Monday night for an hour with a group that helps mentor you versus an hour spent doing nothing or watching a mindless TV show. Pick your poison, right? You want the shortcut, you want the secret sauce, give something up to gain something, right? You have to move things around a little bit. The second thing is look at your time. How are you using that time in your car? When you get in your car, most people have at least a 15-minute commute, right?
Yeah.
or longer. How are you really using that time? Are you listening to music because you like music? Okay, great. We all like music, right? Use that time. It's productive time. That's where you listen to a podcast. That's where you listen to a book on tape. There are things that we have to sacrifice. And you and I we were not on camera and not recording. We talked about what I used to call the vice close, right? What are your vices? Just give one of them up, just one. And if you can't give it up completely, cut it back 10%. I don't care if it's cigarettes or alcohol or getting your nails done. How long does it take to go get that? Cut it out, just one time. If you get it done once a month, do every 2 months. You can find the time and leverage that time. It's all doable. Okay. That's just it. It's not out there out of your reach. It is in front of you, and you just have to embrace it and get it done.
Well, and it all comes back to the reality of how bad do you want it? When you talk about the vices, sacrificing a vice, and what Rod means by that, by the way, is, if you're a double latte macchiato with whipped cream, double whatever, extra hot twice a day, give one of those $7 drinks up times 30 days in a month, you've got the extra dollars, right?
Right.
And there's all kinds of different vices that you can give up. Like we already suggested, maybe it's a TV show, maybe it's that 15 minutes of music instead you're listening to a podcast. It all comes down to how bad do you really want to achieve those goals? Because I think that there is some real influencers out there doing the things that we all aspire to do, and they're very forward facing with their success. But what we also have to understand about those people is that they have dialed in their schedules to the minute, to the moment.
Yes.
And they are the top less than 1%ers out there. And we're going to fall. I would like to say we could achieve that, which we can if we put our minds to it, but we're going to fall somewhere below that most often. And so when you start looking at what vices can I give up and what things can I exchange for others, these are easy techniques that you can get closer to that 1% group. And when you do achieve that 1% success, then you'll realize how much you've given up to achieve what you were after. But it's not an easy task, that's for sure. And no. I guess that's the other thing I want to be clear about is that it's hard to be at the top, and you will have to make sacrifices, and you will have to believe some of those quotes we read at the top of the show, and really understand what they mean, right? With conscious effort.
Yeah. It's harder at the bottom, Jim. It's hard at the top, but it's harder at the bottom, because at the bottom, you have no choices left. If you're at the very bottom, you've given up, so it's easier than the alternative. Doing the work is easier than the alternative. Just do it.
I always love that saying, it's just as easy to smile as it is to frown. Why not smile? You'll be happier, and others around you will be happier.
Right.
It all takes effort. It takes effort to stay at the bottom.
Yes. And it takes a positive mindset to be grateful. You can piss and moan all day long. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can.
You can be a sour puss, or you can be happy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a choice. I don't care. Things are going bad around you. Be the positive person. It's not that hard.
Well, I've heard it said a lot by influencers recently. Pick your hard, right?
Yeah.
You could either work hard to have success, or you can choose to suffer, through recession, bad economy, and all those other things. And when I say suffer, that's a form of hard.
Yeah.
People just don't put it in that category. Oh,
Right.
I don't want to work that hard, but instead you'd rather suffer and complain about the price of gas and everything else, right? So it's really pick your hard and go after it. There's no easy route.
Seems like the people who don't want to work that hard are usually the biggest complainers too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't be a whiner. Don't be a complainer. Don't try
Well,
getting out of work. Don't be lazy.
there's going to be a hard. Let's wrap it up. I'm going to re-quote one of the quotes from Zig Ziglar because I think it resonates and it's one of my favorite ones of the 10 I listed off. If you go looking for a friend, you're going to find they're very scarce. If you go out to be a friend, you'll find them everywhere.
I'm glad you're my friend, Jim.
That's all it takes.
And you know what? I
As
have room
well.
for more friends. Some people are tapped out on friends. I can be your friend.
Well, speaking of friends, we have a great community of people in the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. So if you're thinking about joining a group, we'd love to have you. What's cool about the syndicate is that we've partnered with the Jadari platform brought to you by Sean Whalen and Greg Anderson, both tech geeks and influencers of many. And what that's allowed us to do is have a community of our own where people can get together, collaborate, learn more about one another. And also that culminates into our weekly calls on Monday evenings. And we'd love to have you. Right now, it's sign up and get the first month free. Can't beat that, right?
Free? How free is free? It's free.
Well, Rod, I hadn't told you this yet, but I was on the call yesterday with one of our members, and he was recapping his 10 months, 11 months of being in the group and how many things he's received from being in the group and the value. And he was very grateful. And I got off the phone like, wow, that's so cool that we've created something that has made a lasting impact on somebody with resources.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome.
Well, if you enjoy the show,
keep doing it.
Let's keep doing it. And if you enjoy the show, please share it with a friend. Get the word out there. We'd love to hear from you. If you've got any questions or topics you want us to cover in the show, we're happy to do that as well, especially if it relates to business and life. Talk to everybody soon. Thanks, Rod.
See ya. Thank you, Jim.